In the Wild West world of podcasting, there is one podcast that is authentic and genuine and continues to stand tall in its originality. Based on a passion for his guests, their work, and his love of podcasting, Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast get amazing, diverse, unique guests found nowhere else. They include Hall of Fame athletes, Academy Award winners, Golden Globe winners, Super Bowl champions, Emmy winners, award-winning authors, award-winning film score composers, directors, trailblazers, pioneers, and inventors. The variety and quality are endless. There is something for everyone. Derek Thomas is the hero you deserve. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector. Welcome to Monday Morning Critic Podcast. Here is Derek Thomas.
Everything okay?
I don't like the look of that.
They're coming in fast.
This is Mask, Alabama. We are an unarmed freighter. We have two skiffs approaching with armed intruders. Potential piracy situation.
Copy, Alabama. You should alert your crew and get your fire hoses ready.
Is that it?
Chances are it's just fishermen.
They're not here to fish.
Shots fired! Take the hoses! This is not a drill. This is a real-world situation.
Can't let him attach that ladder!
130 degrees!
130 degrees! Listen up. We have been boarded by armed pirates. If they find you. Remember, you know the ship. They don't. Stick together. And we'll be all right.
1 minute. I will kill all your friends.
If you're gonna shoot somebody, shoot me!
Relax. Everything gonna be okay. Look at me.
Sure.
Look at me.
Sure.
I'm the captain now.
Captain Phillips, can you hear me? Captain Phillips, can you hear me?
Welcome to Monday Morning Critic Podcast. I am Derek Thomas. This is episode 226. Actor Chris Mulkey. Very excited about today's guest, and I'll get to that in a moment. Just wanted to run a few things by you. In life, there's a lot of times in our lives where we should move on from people or situations or an environment. It's something I've learned kind of too late in life, right? I feel like I wish I had that mentality more so in my 20s and 30s. I would have separated myself from some pretty toxic people, some pretty toxic situations. And that's one of the great things about life, living and learning and realizing when a situation isn't right, when people aren't right, to separate yourself immediately from those types of situations and people. And one of the situations, and I'm not going to go into what podcasting is overall. I'm cutting down on my intro time. It's been a little bit too long. But one of the things in podcasting, and there's many steps involved in podcasting, many, if you do it the right way. But one of the most important is when you're done recording and you've done all the other stuff, you have to upload it, right, to a host. And the host for me for 5 years has been a company called Podbean. And they were never right for me. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic with my intro going into a host for a podcast, but for a lot of reasons. And at the end, I was really upset with kind of how they handled a few things. In the podcast world, there's a lot of sleaziness that occurs from other podcasters. And I brought it to their attention. I brought it to Apple Podcasts' attention. Long story short, enough is enough. You're not doing the right thing. The right thing isn't happening. And the last email I wrote to Podbean was about as direct and as forthcoming as I've been with anybody. So the new company that I'm so thrilled, and I'm thrilled to tell you about this company. And if you're ever looking for a great place to listen to a podcast, and many of you are in the right area for podcasting as far as where you're listening, but it's a company called Buzzsprout. It's a hosting company, but you can also listen to the podcast there too. It's super user-friendly. It's going to be updated on my Facebook page and my Instagram, both Monday Morning Critic Podcast. Please find me on both. And I'm just very happy with it. For a while, I was like, oh, I can't change. I don't want to lose my episodes, because there's episodes that I have a lot of. I'm not being arrogant here. I have a lot of great episodes that I love, that I absolutely cherish. One is of with my dad. There's a lot of podcasts early on of, actors in Field of Dreams and some really classic work that people might have missed because I was just starting out. Like, I think a lot of people kind of evolve into being, good at whatever field they're in. I feel like I was spoiled with the level of guest I was getting almost immediately. And that's all because of my guest. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not trying to be that guy. But just really, there's a lot of great episodes out there. And I was thinking about releasing them on Thursdays. But anyways, there's a lot of good stuff. And Buzzsprout really makes it's a super friendly user face. I don't believe Apple Podcasts is friendly. You have to subscribe. It's almost like they lock you in. Podbean was the same way, just really kind of a fluky thing. But anyways, I'm just happy that I had the courage to say screw it and put myself in a better place, a better situation with a much better company. So I'm happy with that. A lot of unbelievably awesome feedback on my last guest, Henry Thomas, 225. A lot of people happy with that. Henry's been in a lot of things. We talked about E.T. and Hill House and Bly Manor and all that other stuff. He was so kind to me, and the feedback, my God, the emails I was getting, the stuff on Instagram and Facebook, the text, people being super positive and like, thank you for letting me work my way through this. Cause I know I make a ton of mistakes. I know there's some things I do really well, and there's some things I am atrocious at, and I have to get much better at it. But thank you for sticking with me through that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But if you haven't listened already, I'll have it up on my website or Facebook or Instagram. Anytime you can always go to my Instagram. I always have a link posted. I'm very excited to put up the new Buzzsprout feed. I'm really excited about it. But that was last week, Henry Thomas, 225. And it's time to get into this week's guest. And that guest is Chris Mulkey. Chris is a veteran actor. Some of his large filmography includes Captain Phillips, the intro that you heard rolling in, Castle Rock, the classic Whiplash with J.K. Simmons, The Purge, HBO's Boardwalk Empire, Cloverfield, The Fan, the Robert De Niro, Wesley Snipes classic about an obsessive fan. What a great movie that was. Rambo First Blood, how's that for a classic? Better Call Saul, and the absolutely iconic Twin Peaks. So, that's just a sample of this man's work. Also a very, very talented musician. Really, really love talking to Chris. You'll either recognize him by the sound of his voice, or when you see what he looks like, you'll know immediately who he is. If you don't already know the name, he's a fantastic musician. He's a fantastic actor. There's a reason why this man's been acting a long time. He's very talented. And sometimes actors that have acted a long time kind of get typecast, where they're just they play that same old part over and over. I feel like Chris has played a lot of eclectic parts. He's done a lot of good things, a lot of interesting things. And one of the cool things that I appreciate about podcasting is probably the thing that I appreciate outside of my love for movies and podcasting is the rapport I develop with my guests. It was certainly evident last week with Henry Thomas. It's evident this week with Chris Mulkey. Just the chance to just talk movies, acting, bonding, just talking about family and life. I have conversations on air, off air about family, and whether it's their families or my daughter and my dad. I just, that's one of the things I just love talking about. It just really makes me happy. It's just to meet a person and to get to know them and to tell them how much I appreciate the work and to have this bond and rapport. I love that. There's something just really beautiful in that. And I just really appreciative of that. And the quality of guests just continues to be fantastic. So I must be doing something right. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go on any further. I feel like I'm rambling too long on my intros. If you want to get a hold of me, my email is mondaymorningcritic@gmail.com. On Facebook, it's Monday Morning Critic. Instagram, it's Monday Morning Critic. Wherever you're listening to a podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts or I just told you today about Buzzsprout or there's 1,000 places to listen to podcasts. I would appreciate it if you subscribed and the episode's downloaded automatically and it's there for you. And again, thank you for sticking with me. I can promise you the guests are going to keep. I mean, I'm scheduling at the end of August, early September at this point. So I'm really proud of that. And you're going to be surprised as to some of the names that keep dropping. You know, these great actors like Chris Mulkey keep coming in. And it's just, I'm very blessed, very lucky, very fortunate, and I never lose sight of that. Anyways, I would appreciate to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 226. Please welcome actor, musician, Chris Mulkey. My next guest is a really talented actor. I am so blessed to have him on the show today. Please welcome Chris Mulkey. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, it's great to be here. And congratulations on your 7-month-old.
Oh, that's really nice of you, Chris. Thank you. Chris, I have to say, you major in acting at Minnesota, okay, and I know you grew up in Wisconsin. Any conflicts there? Because I feel like that should be a rivalry in some way, right? Minnesota, the Vikings, the Packers. I'm thinking about it in a NFL logistical way. And any thought to going to school in Wisconsin? And I hope I have all that information correct.
I lived in Wisconsin for part of my youth. Excuse me, and then I moved to Iowa and then to Minnesota. So I'm a total Midwest brat, but my loyalties are to the Vikings. Yeah, that's for sure. And I'm a U of M graduate, so there you go. There's no getting around it. I can't. But I always liked. I like everyone who is any team that's good. Whether it's the Jacksonville Jaguars or whoever, it's great. But I root for the Vikings. Yes.
and I live in Massachusetts, and obviously New England is the has an established dynasty, if you call it that. But I tell you, it's amazing the fans around here, Chris. They are so. I almost feel like unappreciative. They have turned on Belichick after everything he's kind of done for them. And they're blaming him for Brady. And I don't want to turn this to an NFL conversation, but it's like, you got me thinking. It's sometimes fans don't know how good they have it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's true of everything. I go to I'll go to dinner with somebody, and someone I have a lot of friends who've, been very successful in show business. I've been very fortunate. And this, oftentimes, not always, but a few times, that person who has been very successful isn't very happy. It's not enough. And I'm going, dude, dig what's going on, come on. So, that's
a good point. Chris, that's a good point. People kind of, whether you're talking sports or life or, people always, I feel like, and you kind of touched on this, want what they don't have, right? There's always something better, right? Because what they have is never enough. That is kind of a toxic attitude in some ways, Chris.
That's really like there's an old saying. It's see any pretty woman alone at the bar, and you know that there's some guy somewhere who's tired of being with her.
That's very true. That's very true. That is so true. And it's that mentality, So for those listening, you go to the University of Minnesota, you believe you major in acting, as a veteran actor that, people listening know from about a zillion different things. We'll touch on a few of those. How much did U of M help you, Chris, kind of, formulate and kind of put together your acting chops? Do you feel like it was huge? Do you feel like it was just one step of many?
It was huge. I was an athlete, in my first couple of years at the University of Minnesota, and then I changed I took an acting class just as an elective. My friend, who's a baseball player, said, "Yeah, take acting." I said, "I don't know, actors. He says, "Well, you like movies?" I said, "Yeah, I like movies." "Well, that's acting." I said, "All right, I'll take an acting class." I did, and Linda Jenkins, my first ever acting teacher, because I wasn't an actor, was just instrumental in formulating and encouraging me to pursue acting. She went on to. We did a movie that we won Sundance together. Actually, she played the wife of my good friend in the movie called Loose Ends, which you can surround. But you know, I took acting classes. I took directing classes. You know, I really got a good idea of, you know, what I wanted to do. And so it was immeasurable. And then I went to a school called Boston University for a little bit. And that was very interesting. Lived in Allston in Boston and had a great time in Massachusetts. And then, you know, and on and on.
Great school. I went to Northeastern University, so we are in proximity. So, yeah, Boston's a great place. You know, I have to say, you did some children's theater for those listening. You moved to Hollywood for the, you know, we talked about how you're a Midwest kid. Was that was that culture shock for you, Chris? Was it like, Jesus Christ, what did I get myself into? Or was it one of these things where, you know what, I can do this. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. Well,
I traveled around a bunch when I was in college. I had a good friend who was a music producer, and he was friends with these old groups, Sly and the Family Stone and Jimi Hendrix. And, you know, I was a teenager at that point. He was a few years older than me, but, you know, I went out to visit him more than once out and hung out in Los Angeles and partied for a few years, you know, on and on in Los Angeles. So the LA scene was not strange to me. And then when I decided to move out there, everybody said they thought I would be back in like 3 months. It'd just be too crazy. But I got to LA and I had a film that I had written and starred in called Loose Ends, the same one I mentioned with Dr. Linda Jenkins, that had won the USA Film Festival, which was then Sundance, and the Berlin Film Festival, and it was a great black and white feature. And I took that around town, and people dug it, and I went, hey, I'm staying here. I like this place, and I love Los Angeles. I love everybody here. I love the diversity. We've got the, you know, all the races and cultures, and, you know, it's the center of entertainment. It's great. It's got great vitality and life to it. So I dig it. I live in Venice Beach, so, you know, what can I tell you?
Any little personal satisfaction, Chris, and kind of, I don't want to say sticking it to the people, but the people that said you'd be back in 3 months, was there kind of a little bit of a fist bump or a fist pump that, you know, hey, you know what, I'm actually out here and I'm actually making this happen?
No, not in the least. Honestly, I have to tell you, honestly, I just can't even, no, not at all. So, you know, there is, in that, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a great theater town. There's 50 theaters there and a cadre of incredible actors in the Twin Cities. And a part of me thought, well, you know, why didn't I just stay there and just do theater acting and just, you know, keep pounding the plays, you know? Well, one of the reasons I didn't is because you don't get to do movies, and I wanted to do movies. And the other, you don't really get to make any good money there. And I was intent on making money.
Yeah, and you know, you've been asked this question many times, so I won't ask you. It's clear your longevity speaks volumes about your ability and your abilities as an actor. But is there something that's available now that wasn't when you started acting, or as you progress, that you feel either makes it easier or harder? So, like, for example, like streaming, I would think has made life a bit easier for actors because it allows for more opportunity. Is there anything that you could think of that has become available recently that you feel has made an actor's life either easier or harder?
Well, I would agree that streaming is a great thing for both writers and producers and actors. There's a more open market for product, for stories to be told, different tones to be heard, you know, different tones actually from different cultures. And so that's great. And then also you can email in, you know, you can lay down a tape of an audition and just send it in, you know, and that's good. Yes. But it's also not great because I like to get in the room and schmooze with the people and meet them and, you know, get a feel for who I might be working with. Because right now, you know, let's get Chris Mulkey. You haven't sent a thing in. So I send it to them, and they go, oh, yeah, we want to work with you. And I don't know who these guys are, and it goes both ways. I mean, yeah, I would like to act in your movie, but, I don't want to work with people who don't have a clear vision, aren't great with people. You know what I mean? It's like, I wrote a song called Trading Time for Money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, yeah.
You can always get more money, but you can't get more time. So, it's like, oh, man, I was on that show. It was like 4 years of hell. Well, dude, don't do it.
Yeah, Chris, and I work with kids in my other profession, and I tell them all the time, they always talk about what ifs. Kids are big. They're very inquisitive. They're always asking things. Time is the most valuable commodity. I mean, take your $1 billion. If you give me time, without time, everything is worthless. I feel like, I had two questions from what you just said. The first of which is the one thing I didn't think of until you were talking was, meeting people in person, people that you're auditioning for, how an actor would behave off camera or is off camera, I would think is not just as important, but pretty important, because if you have somebody that's, on camera is great, but off camera is tough to deal with, is not really meshing with the cast and crew, I would believe that would be problematic and something you can only see at an audition when you're meeting somebody in person.
Yeah, it's true. It's all about chemistry. And I have a thing called hang factor, right? Mm-hmm. And if someone is great to work with and is a real human being and is a human being to everyone around them and understanding, then they have a high hang factor. I'll go to dinner with them, and hang out, so I'll give them a hang factor of 10. But if they're, a pain on the set and off the set and constantly complaining about everything, then I'll give them a 0 hang factor. And if I'm working a movie with them, I will only see those people on the set.
Yeah.
I will not. Let's go to dinner. I don't think so. I think my daughter's calling me tonight at my house. I recently did a movie that I did a series called Mud on Your Tires in July and August in Belgrade, Serbia. Didn't know a person there, except this actress, Dana Sparks, who came with me, who was on The Young and the Restless and a wonderful actress. And we went there, didn't know any of the Serbian people. We had a complete ball. What a great group of people. And the product turned out great. It was shown on European TV, Euro TV, and Serbia radio and television. Anyhow, it was called Kale Gume, which means mud on your tires, which collected experiences, right?
Yeah.
It's a romantic comedy about a Louisiana guitar player, me, who meets this Serbian woman online and goes over there. And it was great. And then I've been on some really big films where the people are not that great, even though they're making millions and millions of dollars. And, and so it's wild. I can tell you that, working with Tom Hanks on Captain Phillips was fabulous. He is one terrific actor, but one terrific gentleman and, a human being, and he's funny as hell and knows his stuff. It's like, yeah. It's like people go, I don't know, they got the quarterback for that thing, but he went in there and I guess people didn't like him and they only won like 2 games, right?
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to touch upon that. But I wanted to ask you before I forgot, are you at the point, Chris, in your career, do you still have to audition, or are you at the point where, you know what, if my body of work is pretty obvious, it's out there, what I can do, either I'm right for you or I'm not. Are you at that point, or is that kind of am I looking into things too much? No,
you're really close to where I'm at. I mean, the 2 movies that I have booked right now, the one in Mississippi, which is a thriller, sort of like the remake of The Exorcist.
Nice.
And then a wonderful, amazing Western movie in the 1880s called Whirlwind in Oklahoma in July and August. I mean, Yeah, they're just people call me up and say, come do it, and I mean, that was the series in Serbia was like that. But I just finished, I worked in South Africa just before Christmas and did an Amazon pilot for a TV series called The Power. And I auditioned for that, and I'm really glad I did. But I would say, honestly, like maybe 60 to 70% it's just me saying yes to projects. Yeah,
you've earned that right. You've earned that right, and that's how it should be. I feel like, I have to say, in a lot of your early work, and I want to touch for those listening on your filmography in a moment. But I feel like your early work is really underappreciated, right? I mean, for those listening, I mean, these are the shows, and this is where I think old school TV has a little bit of an advantage over the streaming, right? I love streaming. I mean, I'm into it. I get it. I mean, it's my life. But, 8 is Enough, The Waltons, The White Shadow, Chips, Dukes of Hazzard, Magnum PI. These are White Shadow, if I didn't say that. These are iconic shows that I feel like, I don't want to get too nostalgic, Chris, but I feel like it's days gone by. It's, I used to look forward to the theme songs, like the Chips theme song, 8 is Enough theme song, Dukes of Hazzard theme song. Like, they had you pumped about the show before the show even began.
It was great working on all those shows. Incidentally, I got on Dukes of Hazzard and John Schneider and those guys, they were so great. And I finished my episode. I think I stole the General Lee in the first episode. And they said, well, would you come back and do somebody else? And I said, well, I just did that. He says, no, just come back and you could be somebody else. And so I don't know. I think maybe 6 months later, or maybe it was the next season. I can't remember. They had me back, and instead of wearing a jean jacket, I wore a leather jacket. And I kidnapped Boss Hogg's wife with this other actor, and we, just completely different jacket, same guy, and just had a ball, Yeah. And Chips was the same way. I did a couple episodes of that, and I changed jackets. I think I had a sweatshirt on, and then I went to the leather jacket after that. I stole the drag. I stole that. A fuel drag strip. That was cool. We went to the drag strip.
Yeah, those shows are have a huge place in my heart. Just running through your filmography, Captain Phillips, which we'll end the interview on, Castle Rock, Whiplash, The Purge, the very underrated Boardwalk Empire, Cloverfield, the very underrated The Fan, Twin Peaks, First Blood. You have some great stories from that, and Better Call Saul. Boardwalk Empire, boy, Chris, when people ask me my top 5 shows and people are looking for recommendations, that is one of the first shows out of my mouth Boardwalk Empire. I mean, I don't know how this show isn't. I mean, it's considered great, but I feel like it should be considered one of the best of all time.
Boardwalk Empire was fantastic. I used to. Timmy Van Patten was the showrunner on there, and I used to play basketball with him in Beverly Hills every Sunday, and it was just amazing. Let me see. You're still there, right?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And so they said, "Do you want to play mayor?" I saw a preview of it, that it was coming up, and I said to my agent, "I got to be on this show because I'm perfect for it." So they contacted them, and so they cast me as as Frank Hague, the gangster leader. He was actually the mayor of Jersey City, who was like a saint in Jersey City, but he was involved with it all. But to be involved with that one and to be on the set with that one, the first 2 years we did the political, the senators and the mayors were involved, and then after that the network said no, only gangsters. We can't talk about elected officials anymore. It was kind of funny, but Steve Buscemi was great in that, and Brian Garrity, who I've done a couple 3 movies with, and I mean it just goes on and on. The Boardwalk Empire was a beautiful show, and had a lot of success in the Emmy department, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's well deserved. Chris, I feel like Steve Buscemi has a very high hang factor if you were to give him a grade.
He does have a very high hang factor.
And the other thing, when you were talking, and I remember Tim Van Patten was the showrunner. I wonder if he's related to Dick Van Patten, who was on 8 Is Enough, who we mentioned earlier. I wonder if there's a relation there. There's got to be, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So the other movie I wanted to ask you about was because you're a musician, because you're an actor, Whiplash. You're in that. Awesome. I mean, that is one hell of a. I mean, it does a job on you mentally, that movie. Your thoughts on that, and have you ever encountered that? I guess I don't want to get too personal, but I feel like it's a mentally abusive. The teacher is like so. It's just such a toxic thing. As a musician or actor, have you ever seen that kind of toxic relationship?
Well, honestly, I told this. I told this story many times when I was. Actually, at the Minneapolis Children's Theater, I had a vocal teacher who was from the Ukraine, and she was an opera singer, and I was a rock and roll singer, as a youth, right? And she said, I'm trying to do these 4-part harmonies, and she goes, "Chris, stop, please. Look, you are a wonderful actor, but don't sing. No music for you, Chris. No music. Please don't sing. Don't sing." Right? So then. And they send me the script for Whiplash, and I go and I meet with Dominic and I told him the story about the Giselle. I told him the story of he laughed his ass off, and so many people have told me about abusive music teachers. Yeah, it was right up my alley. They said this kid did this thing called Whiplash. It was won Best Short at Sundance, and now they're doing the feature of it. And I went, and my agent goes, "I don't know, kid did a short, and he's trying to turn it into a thing." And I said, "Well, send it to me." And I read it, and I went, "Well, this is fabulous." And so I went over to and met and had a cup of coffee, and I said, I'll do anything you want in this thing. You're going to be fantastic. And he was. He's great director.
Yeah, and another movie that I mentioned was First Blood, obviously another iconic movie. I've heard you. I was listening to one of your previous interviews, and you told this. I couldn't stop laughing. This great story. By the way, Brian Dennehy, a guy that seems like he has a very high or had a very high hang factor, seems like a really good human being. You told a great story about Kirk Douglas in the filming of First Blood. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well,
Brian and I had just done a miniseries down in Guatemala called Rumor of War with Lawrence Fishburne and all this stuff. So we had done this high combat thing, and a lot of fighting and tussling, and then he calls me up. He says, "You're in First Blood?" I said, "Yeah, I am too." "Oh, great! I'll see you in Vancouver." Right? So I fly in Vancouver, and they picked me up in one of those white Ford crew vans. "Hey, nice to be here." And I'd worked in Vancouver before, and I love it. So we drive out to Hope, BC, and we pull up in front of the production office. There's Brian Dennehy, Mulkey. I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Did you see Kirk Douglas?" I said, "Kirk Douglas, is he on this thing?" He says, "Not anymore." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, this morning, Sly and Kurt had a script conference, and in the book, the Colonel is really the big storyteller, and Sly turned the story around and made the veteran, made Rambo the center of it, and Kurt just couldn't go with that and told Sly it was bullshit, and they got into an argument, and Kirk Douglas threw the script at Sly's head, and Sly ducked, and he's quick, and he walked out, and he gathered his things, and he got in the same white crew van that I rode to the set on. He rode to the airport, and then when he got out, I didn't see him get out, but he had just got out. I got in, and so Kirk Douglas was off the show, and I went, "Oh boy, now one of the names is off the show. Usually that kills the movie," but they turned around and got Richard Crenna, who was Colonel Troutman, a genius and a wonderful guy, and we soldiered on, as they say.
Yeah, no brainer. And I have to say, people I feel like over the years growing up in 70s, 80s, I feel like that people they gave this unfair. I don't know, you call it a stereotype, but they kind of made Sylvester, like, they assumed that he was the Rocky character. Like, he wasn't very bright. He wasn't very thought out. Truth be told, he seems just the opposite. He seems very thought out. He knows what he wants. He's a good filmmaker. I don't know. I feel like he's always been kind of, I don't know what he's like as a person, but as a filmmaker, as somebody who on screen, judging his work on screen is pretty freaking talented, Chris.
Oh, Stallone's great. I mean, he's super smart. He's able to he's a macho guy, but I mean, he's got a chameleon personality. He has 3 franchises when you think about it. The Expendables, obviously. Rambo, 5 or 6 of them. And then the Rocky franchise. And then the spin-off of the Rocky franchise. I can't think of it.
Creed, yep.
Creed, yes.
Yep.
So he's got 4. I don't have 4 franchises. No, I don't. No. I mean, it's okay. So, yeah, I think he's a really good actor and a real smart guy, and he's nice, and and survived a really tough shoot in the first Rambo. It was really tough conditions. It was cold. He got his ribs broken. It's like, oh man, it was crazy stuff.
And I'm not trying to imply you're a narcissist with my next question, but do you ever watch your own? I don't think I've asked this question to an actor in a long time. Do you watch your own work? Do you ever go back and say, you know what? I want to take a look at this. I mean, I know players in different sports, football, baseball, they watch game tape. Do you ever do that in that regard?
No, not so much.
Once it's done, it's done. No, I get it.
It's good. I'm good. It's like, it's sort of like, it's almost like this, honestly. It's because I come from the stage, right? So whatever we did on the stage that night, we did it, if you play a gig, like go play a gig in Vegas or do a big, sometimes I do big big festivals, play in front of 10,000 people, and people go, did you tape it? Did you get it on video? Can you see it again? And I go, I'm good. We had a great time. I'm fine. So making the movie and stuff like that, that's the thing, going to see it. I'll go see it. It's great. I like it, and I mean, even movies that I've actually written and made and stuff like that, I don't watch that much. So yeah, I mean, did that next.
Yeah, no, I get it. I got 3 final questions for you, very brief. The first is Captain Phillips. Chris, how is this movie 8 years old? I feel like I just saw this in the theaters. I feel like I have no grasp of time. I mean, it is so well done. You're so terrific in this, as well as many of the other things we've been talking about. Really a classic, if you will, Captain Phillips. You mentioned Tom Hanks earlier. Your experience on this movie, I have to believe, was pretty difficult because you're on sea a lot of the time. Was it one of your tougher shoots, Chris?
It was a lengthy shoot. We were at sea I was on the movie for 4 months. We were at sea for 2.5 months. I mean, we would come in, but we were out in the ocean, and we were on a real freighter. But here's a movie that got 4 Academy Award nominations, won 1 Academy Award, did huge business, and I think it's timeless. Chris Roth was the editor on it, and Paul Greengrass, of course, was director, and they both did brilliant work. It's just, but how can it be 7 years? You're saying 7 or 8 years?
It came out in 2013, 8 years. I mean, I can't believe that. I cannot believe that.
Yeah, it seems like 2 seconds ago. I'm still friends with my shipmates, one of them in the UK and a couple of them here. And, I've done like 105 or 10 movies or something like that. And when you think about experiences you remember from your career, the film of Captain Phillips was one of the penultimates. Yeah.
Yeah, you're super in that. People would kill me if I didn't ask you about Twin Peaks. That talk about classics. Talk to me about your experience on that, and why is it so special, Chris? I mean, people are still we talk about time. Why are people still talking about this show today? I mean, it's so well done, so beautiful. Your experience and your thoughts on Twin Peaks.
Well, first of all, Twin Peaks ushered in a magical realism in storytelling in television and cinema. So, I mean, before that, there was The Twilight Zone and there was Outer Limits, maybe. But this was like more personal and then reached way down into the soul. It wasn't really even sci-fi, you know. When I first heard about Twin Peaks, I said, I don't understand David Lynch. I saw Eraserhead. I don't want to really do this. And they went, no, you got to go do this. And my college friend from the University of Minnesota is the co-creator of it, Scott Frost. I mean, not Scott Frost, Mark Frost, Scott's his brother. So they said, okay, well, they want to see it for 2 parts. I said, I don't want to read for 2 parts. I don't even want to go in. They said, so in the morning, they called me up and said, your thing's at noon. I said, I don't know. They said, just go. Will you go? And so I went and I got there and I was going to read for Jacques, the Cajun gangster, right, or Hank Jennings. And I knew a guy who did 13 years in San Quentin for armed robbery. This guy, Steve. And Steve, believe me, was Hank Jennings. And I told, I said, so when I went in, they said, well, who you read first? I said, well, I'm going to read the Hank Jennings part only because the guy out there is your Jacques. I mean, he's amazing. And so they said, okay. So I read it, I did it, and I left. And, I got Hank and he got Jacques. And of course, he hates me telling this story because he says, I didn't need your help getting the part. Well, obviously he didn't, but I love telling the story. It was amazing. So it was great to do it. And there was an amazing group of actors. And it was a spooky set to be on all the time.
Yeah, and it's aged really well, and you can't say that about a lot of things. I mean, as far as you mentioned the storytelling, it's absolute classic. My last question is for those listening. You are a very talented musician. I've asked this question. I've asked this question before. I'll end the interview with this question. Adam Levine was on Howard Stern, and Howard asked him, what are the best written songs in history? Adam Levine replied, God Only Knows by the Beach Boys and In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. Chris, who are your influences as far as bands go? Are there any songs that have moved you? And how would you have answered that question about best written song? I threw a lot at you there. Sorry.
Best written songs. You always think about best written songs. What song will you listen to if it comes on and you just go, I don't care where it is in the song, I'm just going to listen to it. I like blues and soul, and I play blues and soul. And you can get me on iTunes and on Spotify, just Chris Mulkey, and they'll play Chris Mulkey playlist forever. Right? There's a group called Sam and Dave, and old school, and they have a song called Hold On, I'm Coming. So that's a great song. And then I have to say, who else do I really super like? I'm a fan of Tom Waits. And he's a great singer-songwriter. And I'll listen to, and this is really wacky, but anything that Frank Sinatra's playing, I don't play that kind of music, but I just, I'll just listen to it. The best is yet to come. I don't know, but the new people, I mean, I don't know. There's so much great music out. I like Billie Eilish. I'm a huge fan of hers. So, but to Hold On, I'm Coming. That's one of my answers, and the other one is basically Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, because I met Jimmy and I hung out with him, and he was a great guy. Oh, wow.
I did not know that. Yeah, he is, people Rolling Stone's always publishing, top lists, top 100, top this, and he's always number one on everybody's list of greatest guitarists of all time.
Yeah, he was. I saw him a couple times and I partied with him, but that's a story that I'll tell you not on a podcast.
Chris, I can't thank you enough. You gave me over a half hour. You're a really good dude. I wish you nothing but love and success down the road, man, and health and happiness and enjoying your family and all good things.
Amen. Family's everything. Okay. Big love.